When I plan a video, there are two things that are running through my mind. The first is the main context, but the second thing I'm thinking about is B-roll. B-roll is supplementary footage that helps support and cover your main storyline. So in today's video, I'm going to cover some of the basics of how to capture really good B-roll. But before we begin, make sure to like this video and subscribe so that way you can get some more video tips from me. Like I mentioned, B-roll is supporting footage. Sometimes you don't know what kind of footage you need until you're editing the actual main content. And that's okay, you don't need everything planned out right off the bat. But it is a little different if you're doing a client project or something where there's a little bit more time constriction. But for most of you who are doing videos at home, I don't think you need to worry about that. And when it comes to B-roll, there are a couple different creative choices that I like to make that I hope you guys adopt and maybe use in your videos. So let's begin. I like to film B-roll at high frame rates, so that way I can slow down or speed up the footage in post-production. It gives a nice dreamy and cinematic look to your footage and helps break up the visual pace of your video. I know the title of this tip sounds odd, but hear me out. You want to make your B-roll look interesting by getting angles that your audience might not expect, or maybe some kind of detail that the viewer is not going to see. The camera is your eye, and the audience, they want to see your creative perspective. So for me, I like to get a lot of close-ups with my subject. The cinematography just gives a sense of closeness and intimacy. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a client shoot and realized I might not have enough B-roll to cover the interview. And from my experience working as a videographer and a video editor, I realized that the more B-roll, the better. So now when I film my own videos, I always try to film more content than I need. And when you film more than you need, this will give you more choices and coverage when you edit. And when I say redundant filming, I don't necessarily just mean the quantity of clips in your card. You should also make sure you do multiple takes of that B-roll. A still shot only does so much to a video. In reality, it's kind of boring. So the solution, give your shot some movement and life. This will help make your B-roll and your video more engaging. Here are a few examples of different movements you can make for your B-roll. Panning refers to horizontal movement, while tilting refers to vertical movement. By simply tilting or panning to a static object, it really makes your image more lifelike, more interesting. One of the easiest and I would say most preferred way to do this is using your tripod. Now, if you're in a situation where you don't have a tripod, then I suggest just use your camera strap. Just sling the camera around your neck and then hold it out as far as you can so there's a lot of tension and start moving. Handheld shots are some of the most convenient moves you can make. However, be cautious when you do handheld. If your camera or your lens doesn't have internal stabilization, then your footage is going to come out a lot shakier than expected. To avoid this, I suggest using a camera strap or even a gimbal. Camera slides are fun ways to bring a lot of motion to your footage. The common way to do this is with a slide or a dolly. However, those are expensive. One cheap way to do a slide movement is to use a whiteboard eraser or even a folded up towel, set your camera on top of it, and slowly just move along the table. I will say this is easier said than done, so prepare to work your ass off. Rack focus is one of my favorite cinematic moves. Essentially, you're changing focus from your foreground object to your background object. By doing this move, it helps bring emphasis on your object. One easy thing you can do to make your B-roll look good is to simply just have on-screen action. Take this shot of a cup, for example. It's fine by itself, but there's nothing interesting about it. Now watch when I add some action. Just by grabbing the cup and taking it off screen, it just gives the shot a little bit more life. Just by the title, this tip may seem contradictory to each other, but it will help you out in the long run for future projects. I'll admit this doesn't work for every project. You could literally spend a day filming a bunch of B-roll at home and then just create your own little library on your hard drive, so that way you have generic shots of things already ready to go. For instance, you've probably seen this shot already in one of my videos. You've probably seen this one, and then this other one too. So when I'm planning my B-roll, I just think about what are the specific shots I need for this one video, and how can I make it universal? Of course, I'm not going to use the same clip over 100 times. So after a period of time, maybe I'll just refilm that shot, same setting, maybe just a different time frame. Now these are just a handful of tips that I thought of, and I know there's more out there and people probably have other instincts and tips, but these are some of the tips I felt were the best things to convey to all the beginners out there. Now if you guys like these B-roll basics, make sure to like this video and subscribe so that way you can get more video and photo tips from me. And let me know in the comments if you were following these B-roll tips before me making this video. So until next video, see ya.